Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Pablo Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the National Executive Committee of the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, urges the first Vice President, Honorable O.C. Joshua, and other parliamentarians of the party to withdraw their signature on the controversial letter in which they are criticizing members of the U.S. Congress over the security situation in the Republic of Cameroon. The party is telling its members of parliament who signed that letter to use the same bold step to press for the Anglophone crisis to be discussed in Parliament. And out of the country, widespread demonstrations erupt in Montreal, Canada, following the death of a Cameroonian woman. Her death has been attributed to negligence on the part of medics who took care of her. And also in this newscast, we'll tell you about the bikers who are making Angola the ride of their lives. The signatures of the first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, Honorable O.C. Joshua, and other parliamentarians of the party on the controversial letter sent by some 60 Cameroonian MPs to the American Congress, criticizing them over what they consider as misleading information on the security situation in Cameroon, backfire on their political career. The party has urged the first Vice President and the other MPs who signed that letter to withdraw their signature and rather use that symbol step to press for the Anglophone crisis to be discussed in Parliament. This was during the National Executive Committee meeting of the Social Democratic Front over the weekend in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Details in this report by me, Armstrong Sander.
During the NEC meeting chaired by Nye John Funzi, the executive members expressed discontentment at the first National Vice President, Honorable Joshua Osei, for appending his signature on the recent letter written by some members of Cameroonian Parliament to the U.S. Senators. Honorable Joshua Osei's comrades urged him and others to, with the same vigor, cause Parliament with the CPDM obese majority and the head of states to bring the Anglophone problem, avoid it for long, to the floor of Parliament for discussion. Otherwise, the SDF MPs should withdraw their signatories to that petition. The National Executive Committee also takes notes of a motion from the party's MPs to the National Assembly demanding for the discussion of the Anglophone problem in Parliament. At the end of the meeting Saturday in Yaoundé, the NEC members took other resolutions on the wide range of issues debated and discussed. The NEC takes note of the Commission of Political Action and reaffirms they are the frontline opposition party in Cameroon with the strong option to push the regime to open up for veritable democracy in the country. Orders for the update of all party structures according to section 185 of the party's constitution enlarges the commission in charge of revision of the electoral code to include the party's national legal advisor, and also calls on the reports of the last presidential election and twin elections of 2020 to be tabled at the NEC meeting. On the COVID-19 domain, the National Executive Committee of the SDF condemns the government's laxity in showing example in the practice of COVID-19 barrier measures and the scarcity of water, which is essential in the fight against the pandemic, and also vehemently condemns the opacity and cacophony in the management of COVID-19 funds and communication around the pandemic.
Now to the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where a land tussle is provoking tensions between some two villages, Livanda village and Bonatikombo, in the town of Limbe in the Fako division. One of our southwest correspondents, Davidson Maimo, files in updates on that quarrel over a piece of land between Livanda village and Bonatikombo village. His report. Davidson Maimo in Limbe with updates on the situation in the Fako division as far as the land quarrel between Livanda and Bonadikombo villages is concerned, and this is a tussle that has been pulling on with both villages claiming authority over a portion of land. In the meantime, we'll go over to talk about something else before we come to that report with Davidson Maimo in the southwest region of the country. And we stay in the southwest region to talk about efforts to keep cash safe in the war-hit region like the southwest region. Of course, accountants have been schooled on how to effectively carry on transactions through the banks, and this was during an annual seminar grouping or bringing together accountants of the southwest region, as Derek Jato reports. Derek Jato, that report there on the accountants in the southwest region of the country and efforts to ensure that cash is safe in a context of war, in a context of security crisis plaguing the two English-speaking regions of the country for close to more than 4 years today. And efforts are being made now to ensure that the impact of the crisis on financial management and transactions turns down. Derek Jato with details from Boya.
These are public accountants of the southwest region, and they have converged on Boya for a seminar on the nomenclature of the treasury account for 2021.
Today we have come for the seminar on the nomenclature so that we can give them the tool how to execute the budget 2021, and also to tell them about the innovation in the financial law, in the secular, so that everything by the end of the year will be okay.
Eric Ayong is the head of mission coming in from Yaoundé, and he will throw more light on why such an annual meeting is important.
At the beginning of each year, we have a new finance law that is elaborated and formulated by the state. Some of the orientations here concerns the creation of some accounts that permit accountants that we all are to put in place an accounting system that will render accounts of the execution of the budget.
And during the orientation, it was revealed that the southwest region, which is at war, has also been taken into consideration in terms of financial transaction to avoid the manipulation of cash.
Yeah, for a socio-political crisis, as the payments are already put, everything is going to be done through bank transfer. That is also to avoid transportation of funds by the taxpayers and the service provider. That is a fundamental one.
Vous savez, dans le contexte de la lutte contre la COVID-19,
and Angola Mbasi Ananias, the Southwest Treasurer Paymaster General also drew the attention of his collaborators on the government involvement and huge spending in the fight against coronavirus.
c'est-à-dire les gens qui n'arrivent pas à payer leurs impôts à solder, leurs dettes fiscales, peuvent négocier avec l'administration fiscale.
And the window of opportunity given by the state to those taxpayers who have failed to meet up with their tax regularities. The government's strong call on civil servants to curb spending was also echoed at the seminar on the nomenclature of treasury accounts for 2021 for the Southwest region.
Cameroon's Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms sends a stiff warning against absentee civil servants. He says they will be sanctioned. He was speaking during a working visit in the Grand North regions of the country, the North, the Far North, and the Adamawa regions. Details in this report.
Though on a working visit to his external services in the Grand North, it was an opportunity for Joseph Anderson Lay to warn against stubborn civil servants who take days off their services
claiming to be traveling to Yaoundé to follow up documents.
Many users who were obliged to go, let us say from here in Gondore to Yaoundé in our central services. Maybe just for one paper, he has to go until Yaoundé, making such a long distance with all the risks you can imagine. Many civil servants used to abandon their service just because they tell their bosses that they want to go to Yaoundé and follow their files, even when there's no file. Many of them used to pass 20 days, over 30 in a month, without going to their office. So they don't work, but they have a salary. This is not acceptable because they have some instruments that they must use to punish those who don't follow the instructions.
At the Multimedia Center in Gaoundéré, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms frowned at the work done in the Multimedia Center and says everything will start all over.
There is some work that is going on, not only here in Gaoundéré, but also in Garwa and Marwa, where I've been, but I'm not satisfied. That work is not satisfactory. That's why I told the representatives of those corporations, of those enterprises, that they will start again this job because it doesn't respect the norms.
After visiting the Multimedia Center, the minister had a question and answer session with his close collaborators in Gaoundéré. At the end of this question and answer session, certain recommendations were made
to reduce the influx of state employees in the main building to collect career instruments, to harmonize the templates of slip forwarded by regional delegates, to eradicate the issue of state employees coming to the ministry to follow up the processing of the file, the congestion of the notification office, effective digitalization, simplification of information and instrument notification process, one of MINFOPRA's central priority, so as to ensure optimal satisfaction of the user king.
The visit of Joseph Anderson Lee to the Grand North is in line with his policy of putting in place a decentralized system whereby civil servants and those who are on retirement can treat vital documents in the headquarters of the various regions without necessarily traveling to Yaoundé, the political capital.
Manjikan Gabriel reporting there. Now back to the opacity of Limbe in the Fako Division, southwest region of the country, where our correspondent Davison Maimo is on standby with updates on the land quarrel between Livanda and Bonadikumo 4 villages. His report.
Few days after Chief Motia Matthias Motia of Livanda village declared no quarter head shall be installed by the Bonadikumo Traditional Council in a neighborhood he claimed belongs to Livanda village. The installation ceremony of the quarter head and others took place at the weekend history, backed by the administration in the presence of the forces of law and order. David Nanyuwe is the chief of Bonadikumo Maifo.
As a legitimate Bakuriman, we are very proud and peace-loving people. We don't use violence to solve the problem. We, the Bakuri people, we always know the quarters to forward the problem. From there, the quarter will solve the problem. Not violent.
Sources close to the administration alleged the divisional officer of Limbe 1, Acha Kwenti, has warned against provocation from any person or group of persons, that the administration shall not hesitate to enforce the law to the latter, for they are competent authority to channel such preoccupation from villages. Installing the 9-quarter head, the Secretary General to the Bonadikumo Traditional Council called on them to maintain hygiene and sanitation, create a peaceful environment, above all report serious issues to the Bonadikumo Chief's Palace.
The chief has told them to be calm, peaceful, they should not fight. Any problem, they should channel it to the palace. I think we are here as notables to handle the situation as well.
The quarterhead, on their part, promised to assist in the development of the chiefdom.
I'm ready to change the city and the quality of my quarter. So all of us have to work hand in hand. Being a quarterhead doesn't mean that I carry the load on my head alone. I have to work with my people.
Bonadikumburu Mai 4, gateway into Limbe, stands as the biggest and most populated village within Limbe, with a total of 31 quarterhead to assist the traditional council in the day-to-day management of the village.
The death of a Cameroonian woman has provoked widespread demonstrations on the street of Montreal, Canada. Her death has been attributed to negligence on the part of medical officials or medical experts who were taking care of her. Details in this report by For Me, Armstrong Sander.
Powerless, helpless and frustrated, Cameroonian-born Mireille Jomo saw her life gradually being snatched away at the Charlemagne Hospital, Grassfield Park in Montreal, Canada. I don't want to die and leave my children. Her face and lips are swollen and she has pains all over her body. She also has difficulties in breathing. Admitted for a hip problem, the helpless lady says she got forcefully administered a drug that she is allergic to. Despite her pleas to medics, she says she told doctors that she had an allergy to penicillin and they gave her penicillin. I am suffocated. I am allergic to penicillin, but they injected me with penicillin knowing fully well that I am allergic. Dying gradually and increasingly helpless, she settled to release this viral video on social media in which she begs for public's help, saying that doctors and nurses were not listening to her. They want to kill me. Please help me get out of this hospital. The viral social media video attracted Cameroonians in Canada, rights defenders and sympathizers who rushed to help her, but too late, as her situation had gotten really bad, according to her sister. After hours of negotiations, officials finally agreed to transfer Jomo Mireille to the Jewish General Hospital in Montreal, Canada, where she died 2 days later. A sad demise considered by Cameroonians and sympathizers as a result of total negligence from hospital officials. Protesting in front of the Charlemagne Hospital and in streets of Montreal, Canada, protesters are demanding justice for Jomo Mireille, Cameroonian-born and a mother of 3.
Une campagne de socio-financement a été mise sur pied afin d'être en mesure de rapatrier le corps de la mère de famille au Cameroun. Simon Philibert, TV Nouvelles.
Coming up, the bikers who are making Angola the ride of their lives. That's yours.
Love this amazing country. Come and share all of this with them as we go on a fabulous expedition. Let's take a look. Meet the Amigos da Picada, respected motorcycle aficionados whose love for the open road runs as deep as their bond.
This is a good family, all for one, one for all. It's all about understanding and friendship. Today everyone is coming together.
Amigos da Picada means friends of the dirt road, the name inspired by the condition of several roads back in 2006 when the group went on its maiden ride to neighbouring Namibia.
We select for our memberships, members with the high level of discipline, committed with the biker spirit, with the social involvement. This is the kind of members we select for our team.
With over 260 active members, the group enjoys beautiful landscapes across Angola and Africa. Today they're heading south from Luanda, then across Kisama National Park, before turning north, finishing at Kabiri's Mubanga Lodge, popular with tourists. These rides are fun, but they're also about making a difference.
From a distance, when you're in the street or before joining the club, you have a different idea about it. But when you're in the club, you realize it's really something else.
Our mission is to promote the tourism in Angola. And we do a lot of social workouts here with churches, with hospitals.
The next leg of their trip takes them to an area that's out of this world.
We're about 55 kilometers from Luanda on the south coast, heading to Barra do Kwanza. We're in a place called the Viewpoint of the Moon, because it has a beautiful view, and after 6:30, at 7 in the evening, we have the sunset. It is very beautiful. We're in a place called Mushima, a very beautiful place, a sacred place. We come here every year to get a blessing for the start of the motorcycling year. That's on our calendar.
Leaving Mushima behind, the bikers head for their final destination. The night at the Mubanga Lodge in Kabiri awaits.
We have good connections with riders around the world, most of them adventurers coming to know Africa.
What I have to say to international motorcyclists who want to come to Angola is that they are welcome. At the moment we have more than 20 groups in Angola. We have a great union. We are a great family.
Terrific. It really makes you want to discover the country and get a taste of what Angola really has to offer. Thanks.
The bikers making Angola the ride of their lives. Quite an interesting story there. We take you now to Talking Point. Thank you for joining us in Talking Points. Today, we are receiving a political analyst, member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM, political party. Tayon Elvis, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Babila Jonathan. It's my pleasure making it here after quite a while.
After quite a while, indeed. You're welcome back.
Thanks very much.
All right, we'll begin with issues concerning the Social Democratic Front. You're a political analyst. When you look at what is happening in the Social Democratic Front today, some MPs signing a letter to say that congressmen in the United States are painting a misleading picture of the security situation in Cameroon, and later on, despite some attempts of explanation, notably by the first Vice President, O.C. Joshua, of what he actually did by placing his signature on that letter, the party comes back in the National Executive Committee meeting to say, you withdraw your signature from that letter. All of you must withdraw your signature and rather use that effort to press for the issue in the Northwest and Southwest regions to be discussed in Parliament.
Well, you know that with the functioning of parliamentarians in the country, you know it's aimed, the preamble, and also clearly stated. If you go to the archives of the National Assembly, that tells you that once you're a parliamentarian brought in under a particular party as a ticket, under the party's ticket, once you get there, you become the parliamentarian of the nation. But then you understand that while this particular parameter is put in place, the role of a parliamentarian, you also have what they call party disciplines, which means if you are under the banner of a particular party that brought you into National Assembly, there are also some party parameters that you also need to consult. You realize that if you don't do that, you'll be finding what we call juxtaposition along the line. It will be like you are moving in one direction and the party is moving on the other direction. You bear with me that before then, the SDF had been one of the parties, I think, outstanding, that had equally been making waves in terms of, getting the issues in the Anglophone crisis also across the border. So you see, they are quite technical that if they don't come in to correct the errors, it will look as if they are getting confused. It's like they had gone before and they are coming back again. So in real terms, you realize that what the Honorable Joshua did, probably he did it as an idea that he is an MP for the nation. But at the other point of view, he incarnates the party, especially as the first vice national president. So people see him more in the National Assembly, not only as a parliamentarian, but more as an MP for the party. That explains why it would have been quite normal for him to have equally discussed with the party hierarchies without carrying that move, because SDF wants to play a standard will not look as if the members are moving in one direction and the party is moving on to the other direction.
But the same members of parliament from the Social Democratic Front had been pressing for the Anglophone crisis to be discussed in parliament for this number of years that the crisis has been pulling on. More than 4 years today. We have seen them marched out of parliament. We have seen them demonstrating in parliament, compelling the parliament to discuss the Anglophone crisis. And now a letter comes up criticizing other members of parliament in another country in the United States who are talking about the situation in Cameroon.
Yeah, that's why I said that even though we get Honorable OC Joshua, it is his right probably to defend what he did, but we are looking at it at the level of the party where he incarnates some values of that party. Now, if you look at it critically, you realize that SDF is simply taking a stand because to SDF, it is even the right thing to do to now call on the international community to come in, knowing fully well that they had sung songs in the National Assembly, they had blown whistles, they had made moves on the streets in Bamenda, moves on the street in Boya, and nothing seems changing. So that's why you see that the party has its own way. From the resolutions you find out there at the next meeting, meeting last Saturday, you see they were simply calling a spade a spade. You know, I'm talking at this at the level of as a political analyst. So if you look at it critically, they were simply calling the shot because they did not want to be caught in a web whereby the party is saying something and the first vice president is saying something else. But because you know the party sees it as a move, because to them they had done all they could within the national territory and things are not improving. Even SDF had suffered collateral damages as far as the crises are concerned. The chairman had been abducted several times. You know, most of the SDF big weeks before even election had gone under serious
properties destroyed, his house burnt down, his cattle.
If you look at it, where you try and discover that your problem cannot be solved within the armpits of the nation, you only have to cry for a neighbor to come in to help you if he can. And so that's why SDF sees it as a move which is counterproductive as far as the move put in place by the first vice president is concerned.
And about the political career of these militants, of these MPs of the Social Democratic Front, what could be the impact on such a decision that turns to backfire somehow against them? They did something probably with a good idea, with a good faith, according to some of them and their explanations, but it turns out that they have been asked to withdraw what they have been done, what they have done.
Yes, in the real terms of political analysis, you realize that it will downplay negatively on the SDF individuals who took that move without seeking clearance from their party, though they will tell you that they were acting as MPs for the nation and not more MPs for the party. But as I said, once you are going on, you will have to assume they function as an MP for the nation, but not forgetting the party that gave you the visa to come into the National Assembly or the Senate or whatever. Now, on the other hand, it's going to play positively on the side of the SDF, because just by denouncing that brings back the morals of some SDF militants and some sympathizers who had already thought that this move was already a move to tell you that SDF is dead. So SDF acting in their next meeting is a technical political move that keeps them to get back confidence that had been lost by that declaration, while on the part of those who were at the forefront of it, I will be sincere to tell you that it acts negatively on their political career, irrespective of the defense mechanisms they put in place. That's why I said sometimes in one of our discussions with some other political actors in the country, I said it is honorary for a politician to commit an error and then ask for forgiveness and move ahead. But if the politician keeps looking for excuses that are dumbfounding and the population is not seeing it as what the excuse you are giving, you'll be losing a lot of credibility that you need to work hard. If not, your political career can be destroyed in a twinkle of an eye.
You're talking about party discipline and the fact that the MPs are parliamentarians of the nation, but besides party discipline, away from the fact that the SDF has its own stance as far as the security situations in Cameroon is concerned, is there any logic? Is there any reason? Is there anything that can justify that later, talking about a misleading presentation of the situation in Cameroon?
Well, it cannot really justify, because I know the mechanism they are working on is on the mechanism of Cameroon is an independent and sovereign state. I know that's the mechanism under which they are working on, which therefore implies that no external country can go as far as infringing into the internal affairs of the nation. But on the other hand, it becomes another worry that if you have a problem in your house that escalates 4 years and above with collateral damages and enormous damages on the ground, you have every reason to pick up and to call on anybody who even is a passerby, who can hear your story and sometimes comes to your aid, probably as the one seriously affected. So in a nutshell, you realize that the issue of castigating that statement from the Congress house out there in the US of A is not really dumbfounding, because when we talk, it's dumbfounding rather, because when we talk about aspect of sovereignty, the next question we start asking ourselves is, what is pushing A or B to move into your country? If you sit in your house and you don't have any problem, somebody gets into it, you have every reason. But the moment you have conflict within the occupants of your house, it's obvious that the one who finds his or herself probably vulnerable can equally call on a neighbor or a passerby or a friend of goodwill to equally come in. And that's why you see the reaction of the Senate or the House of Congress in the US is becoming, because there had been some underground lobbying taking place by the various concerned Cameroonians to get the problem to be solved out, since as the government is not willing to show good faith in resolving the crisis.
But where is the foreign interference in saying that the situation in Cameroon is disturbing, the situation in Cameroon is not good enough for these people to return home, those who fled violence in the country and they were seeking refuge, seeking asylum in the United States of America? Where is the interference in saying that these people have escaped from a disturbing situation, from an unstable and a worsening situation?
Well, you know, I look at it more at the level of the parliamentarians who signed that memorandum acting on bad faith. I say acting on bad faith because somebody makes a declaration about a burning issue in your house, which you have been unable to tackle for the time being. And then when you say he's infringing, it becomes abnormal, because the infringing will go more if he comes in, probably without telling you, to take some full actions on the ground. And you know, in the diplomatic scene, when news start coming like that, that's why I said I regret that those in Yaoundé and the regime barons appear to have gone through Eric, and Eric has not gone through them. Because when you go through international relations or international politics, you start getting that once some foreign committees of the Senate, be it in America or House of Commons foreign committees, start talking, know that that is how they galvanize their moves and then push it forward through the appropriate means to the government in power to take action. And that's why you see that the moment we get these things, German parliamentarians have spoken, a French parliamentarian has spoken, House of Commons Canada, the Senate in US are talking, and UK is talking, you realize that it takes only those who don't understand how a government functions, because when these things come, they are going to congregate at the international scene, whereby the next thing will be, since as the country is adamant and the situation is becoming precarious, the next thing is action. And when those actions come, and when those actions begin to come, you realize that there is a ball game that takes place behind stage, before the front stage, which means these committees talk with their governments validate and talk with other governments, and they come to a compromise that they have to do something about the situation. And once they decide, before you know it, you start getting accounts of some person's consent frozen, you start hearing about travel bans, you start hearing about all this, and the last thing that breaks the diplomatic link is that you start hearing that you'll be having an occupational force in the affected area. And once that comes in, the government in power loses automatic control, and that is where you start getting that the government goes right out. So I would think that from those declarations put by those countries, the parliamentarians are not honest to call it probably an aspect of infringing into the national affairs of the country, but they should take it in good faith, because once they don't do that, by the time these things backfire, I'm telling you, we already have established crimes, cases on crimes against humanity already, which will take on both parties because it's a conflict. But the greater part of the blame goes on the government, who has as prime objective to secure goods and persons within the given territorial boundary, as well as to provide them with good living conditions. So if 4 years running, one part of the country is falling apart and people are dying, you know that all of them are documented. You'll be surprised that after the conflict, when you get the full report of the number of casualties on the ground, some people will not believe what they'll be getting as final reports.
And the National Executive Committee of the SDF is now asking its MPs to continue pressing to use the same boldness, the same pen that they used to sign those letters to press for the Anglophone crisis to be discussed in Parliament. This is, however, something that they have been trying to do for the past 4 years, and it's not happening. Do you see something like this coming in the current parliamentary session?
Well, if you look at the geopolitical structure of the country, Cameroon, if you look at the political evolution from the time of probably Amadou Hayejo getting to President Paul Biya, it tells you that that particular clause put in place by NEC is practically impossible. That's why you see some parties themselves decide not to go in for the elections, because they said some things must be put in place before they go in, because if not, you will be carrying out the same action and expecting different results. Now we understand, I said, we must be able to appreciate SDF for the move they have been taken in the National Assembly. That one is a fact that we cannot dispute, even for the fact that I'm talking as a political analyst. Now you realize here that in this move, what they are doing, it will not give any result. I must be honest with you. What they would have been able to do as members of parliament, knowing fully whether it is their house, is that they were supposed to take the parliament hostage for no business to commence until that topic comes on. But if you allow the agenda to be read without the Anglophone crisis, day 1, day 2, day 3 unfolds, and then you come in to say you want to press hard, you'll be singing a song. And I tell you that parliamentarians have the right to hold the parliamentary session hostage, because it is in the parliament where they're holding a hostage, and there's no law that will hold them accountable for bringing about probably things of insecurity, because they are doing it in their own house. But unfortunately, we have limitations with our parliamentarians.
Will they not be brought to book for violating standing orders of the...
No, you have seen in the Chinese parliament where full fight broke out in the parliament, and of course, how did it end? So long as it's within the armpit of where you are carrying out your session, which is a legality for you to reivindicate your right, and you could even give an excuse that we have tried this, blowing whistles here is not going, that's why we are taking it hostage, no business until we get to this topic. It's very possible, but I have a fear that the parliamentarians sometimes don't really understand the power they have. If you have 5 parliamentarians in the SDF party, they can take the rostrum hostage, and you find it on the agenda.
When the party had a parliamentary group, they struggled and it did not happen. And now that there are just some few parliamentarians, and another thing is the other parliamentarians of the opposition, the Honorable Cabral Libis and all the others, they seem not to be willing to stand with the SDF.
No, they will not obviously stand, because every party has its own agenda. That's why we said that when you go to the National Assembly, where you discover that getting yourself as a group cannot go, because some parties come in as satellite parties for others. So all of them have their hidden agendas. If you have your agenda journey, take it forward and hold the parliamentary session hostage, and you'll get a result out of it. But they have been trying, but it's not good enough. I must be honest to say that. But at the end of it, the system needs to be reshuffled and electoral codes and new system put in place. If not, they will just be singing a song day in, day out.
Tayon Evis, political analyst, member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure, and greetings to the people of Gonoko village.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Equinoxe is up next.